Today's February 13th, 2014. We're on the record at 2:00 p.m. to video record the deposition of Adam Small in the case styled Eric B. Fletcher versus Nick Maneros et al. Will counsel please state their appearances?
Art Fletcher, pro se.
Sal Melly, Gilbride, Tusa, Last, and Spillane, LLC. Attorneys for Nicholas Manero Jr. and Nick Maneros II, Inc.
Will the court reporter please swear in the witness?
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Mr. Small, thank you for coming today, and thank you for the fact that this was under a voluntary basis, as we discussed earlier. What I'm handing you here and what you have right there is the notice of deposition and the commission that was filed with the state of Connecticut, and I will be reserving the right that if it gets signed and I need to call you back at a later time, I will be doing that. But as it's understood right now, you are coming voluntarily to give testimony as to what I had previously sent your attorney a copy of the questions. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Do you want to look this over? Is this a copy of the deposition and the notice that I had sent you previously?
Attorney Fletcher, if I may, before you begin, sir.
Sure.
I just would like to note for the record on behalf of my clients, we're reserving our right at trial to assert all objections, except as the form. We will assert objections as the form. And in an effort to, never mind. I will. Never mind. But we will, of course, object. We will reserve all of our rights except as to form at trial.
Is that the notice that you had been sent?
I believe so. It looks familiar.
Similar. Let this be marked Exhibit 1, and then when I hand you the exhibit, just hand it over.
Okay.
Could you please state your educational experience?
Sure. I got my undergraduate degree in accounting at University of Central Florida. I got my master's at Nova Southeastern University in accounting.
Are you a registered CPA?
Yes.
How long have you been a CPA?
Approximately,
To the best of your recollection.
say 13 years, 12 or 13 years.
Have you always worked for Barnes & Associates?
Yes.
Were you hired to work for Nick Maneros too?
Yes.
Who hired you to work for Nick Maneros too?
You did.
Were you hired to complete the tax returns for Nick Maneros too?
Objection form.
You can answer. You can continue answering through the objection. Were you hired to do the tax returns for Nick Maneros too?
Yes.
Did you do tax returns for Nick Maneros too?
Yes.
Did you do tax returns for myself personally?
Yes.
Did you do tax returns for Nick Manero personally?
I'm going to object as to form. I would like to, just for purposes of allowing the transcript and the deposition to move more quickly and smoothly, note a standing objection to leading questions.
You can still answer. Did you do Nick Manero's tax returns?
No.
Nick Manero's. What is your best recollection as to the situation when you were hired by Nick Maneros too? Or from now on, to make it easier for everyone, whenever I reference Maneros, it will be in reference to Nick Maneros too. What was your best recollection as to the situation surrounding your hiring by Maneros to complete the tax returns? You can still answer.
If I remember correctly, I was contacted, I think, with you and the attorney, I believe, for Nick Maneros too, to do some work. But I don't remember if that was for you personally or for the company.
Do you know who Lauren Steinberg is?
Yes.
Would it have been Lauren Steinberg when you referenced the attorney for
Yes.
Nick Maneros too? How do you know Lauren Steinberg?
I don't know him. At the time, I knew one of his associates, another partner in his law firm.
So were you recommended to Nick Maneros to be hired as an accountant?
I don't know if it was Nick Maneros or you individually, but it was a referral from Berger Singerman, the attorney group.
I'm going to draw your attention to Exhibit 2. When you were first hired by Mineros, do you remember the situation concerning the tax returns and extensions?
Form.
No.
I'm going to draw your attention to Exhibit 2, specifically in the upper right-hand corner as to the date, the postmark date.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Can we go off the record for a second here?
We're off the record at 2:06.
Is there a document? I'm missing.
2:06, we're back on the record.
Do you see that date in the upper right-hand corner for the postmark?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Tax Solutions Group?
No.
Have you ever heard of Elizabeth Dunn?
Yes.
How do you know Elizabeth Dunn?
I've just heard you mention her name.
Do you know what she did for, in what reference? Referencing what?
Form.
I don't remember.
Was she an accountant for Mineros Inc.?
I don't know.
Approximately what would be the date with an extension for personal tax returns?
With
An extension.
for what year?
For tax year, this would have been 2010.
Either September or October.
So would it be fair to say that a personal tax return with an extension would be due either September or October?
Most likely October, but I remember one year it changed.
What do you know the difference between a fiscal and a calendar year?
Yes.
Do you recollect whether Mineros was a fiscal or a calendar year?
I remember it being a fiscal year.
Do you remember when the fiscal year ended?
No.
We'll get to it in a second. Would it be fair to say that based on the date in the upper right-hand corner that information was sent to Tax Solutions Group on February 16th, 2010?
Objection. Form.
I don't know what.
I believe the witness has testified he doesn't know what Tax Solutions Group is, Mr. Fetcher.
Exhibit, we're up to 3. You can hand that Exhibit 2 to... Have you ever... Does this refresh your memory concerning who Elizabeth Dunn is?
This makes me believe she was your former accountant.
Did you ever receive any information from Elizabeth Dunn?
I really don't remember. I'm not sure if either somebody sent me information. I don't know if it was you or her, but somebody would have.
Okay. Let me just... Do you see the date on that letter?
Yes.
What's that date if there was an extension filed on a personal return?
Form.
What's the date of the letter?
What's the date of the letter?
October 13th, 2010.
Do you know if there was an extension filed for my personal tax returns?
Form.
I don't remember.
That's okay. Moving on to number 4. If you don't remember, it's better to say you don't remember and you don't know than to try and do anything else.
I can't remember
If I may,
that.
Attorney Fetcher, how many pages is
That was one
Exhibit
page.
3 is just one page? Thank
It's
you.
one page. Moving on to Exhibit 4.
There you go.
I don't think do you recognize this document?
May I see that document? Because I don't... Is this what you're showing him? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Thank you.
It looks like a FedEx statement.
And that's it. And that's fine. We'll move on to Exhibit 5.
Okay.
Did you ever prepare anything for Nick Mineros 2?
Yes.
What did you prepare for Nick Mineros 2?
Compiled financial statements, and I believe we did some tax work.
How did you get the information for that to complete those?
You provided them.
We're going to go to Exhibit 5.
Is that 6 now, Attorney Fetcher, or 5? I'm
I
sorry.
think it's 5.
Okay.
Am I correct?
I believe you're right.
I'm just going to print paper clip on this. Yeah, I'll leave it like this, and then when we hand it over, we'll just put paper clip on it.
Okay.
Do you recognize this? Can you familiarize yourself with this document?
Yes. Okay.
Is this your document?
Yes.
What is this document?
It's the compiled financial statements for Nick Maneros 2, fiscal year ending June 30th, 2010.
What would be entailed in completing this compiled financial statement?
Can you be more specific?
More specifically,
Yeah.
what information would you have needed to compile this document?
Would be the corporate books and records.
Could you have completed this without having the corporate books and records?
No.
Having had the corporate books and records and compiling this financial statement, do you remember how long it took you?
I don't.
The fiscal year end June 30th, 2010. This document's completed April of 2011. Do you remember?
You just shake your head.
Oh, could you please answer yes? Because she can't type what you're when you.
But yes, the report stated April 28, 2011, and it is fiscal year ending June 30th, 2010.
Do you remember what this report was created for?
I don't.
Do you remember if there was a refinance for the corporation?
I do remember there was some sort of refinance.
Do you remember whether this was done under an expedited basis, or do you remember if there was an expedited basis for completing this report?
4.
I don't.
But you do remember this report being completed for a refinance?
I don't remember. I remember there being a refinance. I remember you were working on something with the refinance, and I know we did the financials. I don't know specifically that this report was for that reason.
Okay, that's fine. Did you start from scratch in completing this report?
Meaning,
Meaning, did you have any prior reports to work from or any prior tax returns to work from?
I don't remember.
This is going to be Exhibit 6.
Done with this one?
Yes, just put the paper clip on it, hand it over. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
What is Aqua International?
Aqua International. I don't know. Wait.
Was there a company, have you ever heard of the name Ocean Optics?
Doesn't ring a bell.
What is Nick Maneros 2 Inc.?
4.
Have you heard of Nick Maneros 2 Inc.?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that this document was prepared for Nick Maneros 2 Inc.?
I see what you're talking about now. It looks like this letter had the wrong name on it. Should have said Nick Maneros 2 Inc.
So you are familiar, you did do the taxes for Nick Maneros 2 Inc.?
Yes.
And this is in June 30th?
Attorney Fetcher, I'm really going to ask that you do not lead the witness in his testimony, sir. Please ask the questions. I know I have a standing objection.
I will use Exhibit 7 to refresh your memory.
I don't think there's a question upon which to refresh his memory, sir. So if you can ask the question and don't lead the witness, I would greatly appreciate it.
Duly noted. Will you keep these two documents together? Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Did you prepare this document?
Yes.
Is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes.
Do you see the date on that document?
Which date?
The date that you completed it, the date of completion.
The date I signed it is June 30th, 2011.
Would these two documents likely go together?
Form.
Yes, the transmittal letter and the tax return.
Is that something you do in the normal course of business?
Yes.
Thank you. This will be Exhibit 8.
How many pages, sir?
2. Do you recognize this document?
What do you mean recognize?
Do you know have you ever seen this document?
This exact document or?
Have you seen this exact document?
I don't know if it's this exact document, but I've seen something similar to this. I remember something similar to this. I don't know if it's the
That's-
exact document.
To the best of your recollection, do you remember what that was about?
Form.
To the best of your recollection, do you remember what that was about?
Form.
You can answer.
From reading it, I can tell what it's about.
Granted, and do you have knowledge of what this letter is about?
Can you ask it again? Because I'm not understanding English.
Have you ever seen this document? It's simple yes or no.
I don't know. I don't know if it's this exact document.
Do you have any recollection of anything to do with an election of an S or C corporation concerning Nick Monero's 2?
Yes.
Did you ever do any work concerning the decision-making on deciding between a C or an S corporation on Nick Monero's 2?
No.
Had you ever discussed that issue with anyone?
What issue?
Had you ever discussed that there might be work that needed to be done concerning the election of a C or an S corporation? If I may, I'll refresh your memory.
You're going to have to
Sir, if you can ask
restate
him
it.
to answer the question first, and then if you need to refresh his recollection, Attorney Fetcher, you're leading this witness, sir. I'm going to object. Ask the question and get an answer first, please.
From now on, if you're unsure, say unsure, and I will.
Can we get an answer to the question?
Can you restate the question? Because I don't.
Are you familiar? Did you ever say that work needed to be done concerning the election of a C or an S corporation with Nick Monero's 2?
Not that I can recall.
If I may, Exhibit 9. Do you recognize this document?
I signed it. So I don't.
Do you know what is this document about?
It looks like a response to a letter to this IRS notice.
Does it look like a response to to that issue?
Objection form.
Yes.
What was did you write this letter? The letter that you signed.
Exhibit 9.
Exhibit 9.
Yes.
Did you write this letter?
I signed it. I'm saying someone might have drafted it, but I reviewed it and signed it.
Would this be an accurate reflection of your thoughts?
I have to read
Objection
it.
form.
Yes, please read it.
Okay.
Do you have any recollection as to writing this letter, or that it reflects your thoughts?
Objection for.
I don't remember writing it, but I believe that I did.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
The question is simply, did you or Barnes and Associates, you personally, as today, don't represent Barnes and Associates, you're representing your own recollections as to what work you did for Nick Monero's too. So, under that auspices, were you aware of the election between a C and an S corporation?
For.
Were you aware of the issue that was an issue?
From reading this, I can
Yes.
see that there was an issue between it. I can tell you from looking at this, it looks like we filed an 1120 consistent with how the company had been filing. And we got a notice from the IRS stating that an S election was made years and years and years prior.
Was this a significant, upset in your, or not, let me rephrase the question. Does this happen often?
I've never seen this before. I've never had this happen before.
How much work would be entailed in transferring from a C to an S to a C corporation?
You're going to have to be more specific.
You reference in this letter that the reasons for not switching from a C to an S as enormous burden for both the taxpayer and enormous burden for both the taxpayer and service.
So you mean in this particular
Yes, in this particular case.
It looks like that the company had been filing as a C corporation for as far back as we could find records. And so if the corporation had to go back and file a bunch of years of S-corp returns, which would mean the owners of the S-corp would have to go back and file as well, it would be a big undertaking.
Thank you. You can hand those over.
Okay.
Did you ever speak to Nicholas Monero?
I believe I did.
Approximately when did you speak to Nicholas Monero?
I don't remember.
Did you ever speak to James Bassett?
I really don't remember.
Who did you speak to from Nick Monero's Nick Monero's 2 company?
I was dealing
To all
with you.
people, yes.
I was dealing with you. Who else I spoke with? I don't remember who or if I spoke to anyone else in regards to it.
Would it be fair to say that you spoke to, who did you primarily speak to?
You.
Would it be fair to say that you primarily spoke to me but had a conversation at some point with Mr. Monero?
I'm going to object, sir. You're leading this witness. He's already testified he does not recall. You're
can answer the
trying
question.
to get this witness. You're leading this witness to testimony, sir. It's completely improper.
You can
I
answer the
remember
question.
dealing with you primarily. I know I spoke to a couple other people towards the end of our engagement, but I don't remember specifically who that was.
It's perfectly fine. Can we move on to Exhibit 10?
Is it one page?
One page. Do you know what this document is?
Yes.
What is this document?
Schedule K1.
What is a K1?
It's a part of either an S corporation or partnership tax return that shows the shareholders, partners, or members' allocation of income loss and other transactions.
If a K1 was filed in the year, this is, I believe, tax year 2012, fiscal, for them it would be fiscal year 2012. Was your advice taken?
I don't think I advised on 2012.
But your prior advice concerning the election of a C or an S
I'm gonna object.
corporation?
I don't think the witness testified as to what his advice was on that subject, sir.
I think we can go back to Exhibit 12.
Again, you're leading this witness, sir.
Can I have Exhibit 12, please?
We're only on 10.
Oh, sorry, this is the previous exhibit. Mine is from Plaintiff's Exhibit 12 from earlier. So it's
So you want
9.
Plaintiff's Exhibit 12?
9. I went 9.
From the
It's-
prior deposition,
No,
sorry.
9 from this one.
Okay.
I draw your attention to the paragraph starting Form 1120 and continuing through retroactively terminated effective September 20th, 1986. What was your opinion of what would happen should...
Objection. He's not here to testify as to opinions, sir.
What did you state?
I didn't give an opinion as to how it might affect.
Would refunds be forced to be issued?
I don't know. I don't have enough information to tell you that.
Is when you write ultimately causing refunds to be issued by the service, is that an accurate reflection of your thoughts?
Objection. Form.
I can tell you what the sentence says. I don't know what I was referring to, whether it was corporation or the individual that would be affected. I can't tell you.
Well, did you do Nick Monero's personal tax returns?
No.
Is he the sole shareholder of Nick Monero's too?
I don't know for sure.
If he was the sole shareholder of Nick Monero's too, would this be referencing the company?
Form.
You can answer the question.
What would be referencing the company?
Would you have had anything to do with Nick Monero personally if he was the sole shareholder of the company?
Not necessarily.
So if you didn't have anything to do with his personal returns and he was the sole shareholder of the company, when you say causing refunds to be issued by the service, would that be refunds to the sole shareholder from the company?
Form.
From the company?
Again, I don't know. I'd have to look at both returns to tell you that.
Did you ever do any further work for Monero's recently?
Recently, meaning
When did you stop working for Nick Monero's too?
shortly after I stopped working for you. So whenever that time frame was.
Why did you stop working for Nick Monero's too?
I don't remember exactly.
To the best of your recollection.
All I know is I stopped working for you. I stopped working for them. It was about the same time. I knew that there was some sort of disagreement between the two of you, and I really didn't want to be involved in any of it. Honestly, I mean,
That's fair enough. A fair enough answer. Why did you stop working for me?
just what I just said.
Would it be the same? Would it be the same reason?
Yes.
I'll mark this Exhibit 11. It's going to be 2 pages. You can hand those to the... Can you please familiarize yourself with these 2 documents?
Okay.
What are these documents?
It says rent and royalty worksheet.
Are these for the tax years 2011 and 2012?
Yes.
What is gross rents a function of?
Form.
When you did the tax returns for Nick Monero's 2, what would be the gross rents a function of?
Form.
To the best of your recollection.
I really don't remember specifically for Nick Monero's 2. What,
Generally, what would gross rents
in
be?
general, gross rents would be the gross amount of rental income.
Would you say it's fair to say between the year 2011 and 2012 there's a significant increase between the rental amounts?
Well, there's less dollar amounts on the gross rents line. However, this period states 7/11 through 12/31/11. This says for the full year, so.
So had the
I
books
don't know
changed? Is it potentially that the books changed?
Objection, sir. Again, you're leading us.
I don't know.
witness.
Did you do either of these documents? Are either of these your documents?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Those.
One, two, three, four, five, 6. This is going to be 6 pages. Hold on a second. This will be 6 pages in Exhibit 12. Are you at all familiar with this document?
Meaning specifically to
The
this
form of
company?
this form. Do you know what this form is?
No, I've never seen this form before.
Have you ever gotten a request from the Social Security Administration
Objection. Form.
on behalf of any of your clients?
Not that I can think of.
Have you ever done any work on a second request for Social Security Administration?
Not that I can think of.
Did you do the taxes for Nick Monero's 2 in the tax year 2011?
Don't believe so.
If you, can I direct your attention to page 3?
Okay.
In the middle of page 3, employer name, Nick Monero's 2, employer Social Security wage totals. Have you ever seen, are you familiar with anything similar to that?
Objection.
Do you know what IRS data 941, 943, Form 1040,
Objection. Form.
what those forms are? You can answer the question.
Objection. Form.
I know what Form 941 and Form 1040 are.
Do you know what this would be referencing in general?
What would be referencing?
This form and what this request is referencing? Not
Now-
specifically to the company, but in general.
Not without reading it.
Could you read it, please?
Okay.
Your opinion? Or not your opinion, excuse me, you're not here. Do you know what this form is for?
Objection. You've asked and answered that question, sir, several times already.
You can answer the question.
This looks like a request from the Social Security Administration regarding tax year 2011.
Did you do the taxes for the company in 2011?
I really don't remember. I'd have to go back to records. I can't remember when we stopped, but I think 2011 was after we stopped doing work for the company. That's my
Thank you.
recollection.
Did you ever turn corporate records over to another accountant?
Not that I can remember, but I don't know.
Were you
for
ever,
sure.
did any accountant ever request corporate records from you?
Not that I know of.
Have you ever had a situation where an accountant after you didn't request those records?
Form.
Specifically,
Since you've been working, have you ever, in this situation,
what situation?
with either Nick Monero's 2 or in your professional career, has it often happened, or has it ever happened, that the accountant that takes over an account from you doesn't request any records?
Form.
I would think it's typical that someone would, but I'm sure it happens where it's not necessary.
That's fine. Have you ever heard of moving on to the next exhibit. Have you ever heard of Jim Bassett?
I've heard the name.
Did you ever how do you know the name?
I just remember it from when I did work for you and for the company. Excuse me.
This is Exhibit 13. Please, you read it to yourself and familiarize yourself with this.
Okay.
Who had you discussed this subsection S election with anyone prior?
Form.
Had you ever known of this subsection S election?
Form.
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Did you ever discuss the question of the S or C election concerning Monero's Corporation?
You mean from the
Yes.
previous exhibits, that
Yes.
letter? I don't remember.
Who did the taxes? This letter's dated 6/8/2010. Who did the taxes for that fiscal year?
Which fiscal year?
The fiscal year that would have ended 6/30/2010.
That one?
Yes, if you need to have your memory refreshed.
I mean, it would help.
Sir, what exhibit are you looking at?
This
so that I
would
know for
be
record?
the taxpayer copy. I believe it's...
Has that been introduced as an
Yes, it
exhibit yet,
has.
Attorney Fetcher? Which exhibit is he looking at? For the
I'm gonna
record?
say for the record, it's going to be probably about 7 or 8. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Is it exhibit 7?
I believe so.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Referencing Exhibit 7.
we did.
So were you had done the corporate returns for the year 2010?
For Nick Monero's too. Yes.
Were you ever asked for any information from Jim Bassett?
Not that I can remember.
Do you know who Elizabeth Dunn is?
I don't know her.
Would you have provided information had it been requested from you?
Not without permission of a officer or owner.
If given the permission of the officer of owner, would you have provided information?
Then I would, yes.
Thank you. And
Are you done with this?
Yes, just to refresh my memory, you did have a conversation at some point with Mr. Monero?
I think I remember speaking to him once, but I don't remember anything else.
Is it fair to say that Mr. Monero knew you were doing the tax returns for the company?
Objection form.
I don't know.
That's fine.
I really don't.
That's okay. This is going to be Exhibit 14? Do you recognize this document?
No.
Did you create this document?
I don't recognize it, so I wouldn't think so.
Just to be clear, do you have any knowledge of what an accrual basis is?
Yes.
What's an accrual basis?
An accrual basis is a taxpayer or somebody who's preparing financial statements prepare either on the accrual or the cash basis. Accrual basis is where you would accrue expenses or income.
To the best of your recollection, was Nick Monero's 2 when you did its tax returns on the accrual or cash basis?
I don't remember. It would say on the tax return or the financial statement.
If we can look at, would it say on the compilation financial statement?
Possibly.
Can we go back to the compilation financial statement?
What exhibit are you going to, sir?
I believe it is Exhibit 3, I believe. It might be 4.
4 is I believe, the FedEx Air bill.
Then it's 5. It's the one right after the FedEx Air bill.
This one, Attorney Fetcher?
Yes,
Thank you.
compilation financial statement.
Thanks.
Where in the compilation financial statement would you be able to know whether it was accrual or tax basis?
This is actually prepared on the income tax basis,
Which would be,
similar to how we file the income taxes. So you could probably look on the income tax return to tell you how they file.
well, how did you file? Would this be cash or accrual or a third type?
I can't tell by looking at these.
As to when you did the work, it was
Well, you said file. What are you talking about specifically?
when you had done the filing, would it be on the cash or accrual basis?
Filing for the tax return? I have to look at the tax return.
The full tax return or the,
I think on page 3. I don't remember the page, but one of the pages, one of
We'll
the first
list that.
4 or 5 pages,
okay.
there's a checkbox. Accrual, cash, or other.
Do you remember any issues concerning the filing of state income tax?
Yes.
Could you please explain, you can give them both these. Do you remember any issue concerning this filing of state income tax?
Yes.
Do you remember what those discussions were?
No.
Do you remember if this state income tax has been filed for North Carolina or Florida?
I don't remember what the issue was. I remember there was an issue.
Did you complete any of the work on that issue?
I believe we had started it. I don't remember if it was completed or not.
Did you complete that work for whom? On whom's request?
Form.
It would have been yours.
Moving on to exhibit. What are we up to? Where'd the stickers go? Exhibit 15. And I'm just gonna
16
paperclip
or
it.
15, I apologize.
15.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. Do you know what this document is?
Yes.
Could you explain to us what this document is?
It looks like a canned letter that we send to a database of our clients.
Was I your client in January 15th of 2013?
No,
Had I just been sent this letter as a result of being on the mailing list?
probably.
Why did we have a disengagement in our relationship, our accountant-client relationship?
Form asked and answered.
You-
Can you ask something a little more specific?
What was your reasoning behind severing our business relationship?
Just what I had explained before. That I remember that there was an issue between you and someone else in the corporation, and I didn't really want to be involved with it.
That's perfectly fine. So as of January 15, 2013, you weren't working for me.
Correct.
Were you working for Monero's Inc. Nick Monero's 2 at that point in time?
No.
Thank you. We're all set, and thank you again for coming to do this. Then Mr. Melly may have some questions.
I have no questions for you, Mr. Small.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All set.
All right. Very good.
248.